Every day, we encounter challenges on this earth. Some are within our control, while others, unfortunately, are not. Join us as we dive into shooting awesome firearms and exploring a fascinating journey of a psychologist who specializes in helping with grief and other unique situations. She could benefit us all with life's most challenging times. Welcome to Shoot the Shh, where empowerment takes aim.
Hey, everyone. Mrs. Trouble back again with a extraordinary woman here who is fighting battles that we can't see. But of course, unlike Kanye told Sway he ain't got the answers. But this woman right here, she has the answers.
You ain't got the answers.
Kanye.
You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
The answers to all of our health benefits of mental health awareness as PTSD, trauma situations, and that situation we never want to talk about. What do we do when we lose a loved one? What do we do when that loved one is in a moment of passing? Those introducing Miss Amber Martinez. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm really happy that you joined this show today.
Okay.
One thing you told me that was really interesting is that you are a veteran, as you wore your veteran hat today, but you also had some discomforts with firearm use. So I would just like to start right there. Just want to explore how you felt today versus what you experienced in the military with firearms. So what was the difference for you?
Well, my introduction with firearms, I was boot camp in the Marine Corps. I'm ambidextrous, and so I write with my left, but I do everything else with my right. But in the Marine Corps at the time, it's been like over 20 years now. They were like, "Oh, your writing hand is your strong hand," and so they kept like sticking the rifle into my left hand, and I'm like, this was very, very uncomfortable. So like, it was never comfortable for me shooting, and whenever I tried to like shoot with my right and telling them that I felt more comfortable that way, we're yelled at. They're like, no, that's not right, it's your dominant arm, your dominant hand. And I'm just like, ugh. And so I never felt comfortable shooting because I was always forced to shoot with my left side.
What?
And so I shot 2 other times. My brother owns a collection of guns, and he was letting me shoot with my right. And then today I was shooting with my right. And so I felt more comfortable. But in the military service, with my first introduction into shooting, it wasn't the case. So
that's an interesting thing. I didn't know that.
yeah.
I did not know that they force you to shoot with what they call your dominant hand.
Yes.
Wow. So people who are either left-handed and or ambidextrous, I think may fall in this category a lot because people who are left-handed tend to do things with their right side. And it varies one person from another.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to make that comparison. So do you have a particular caliber or a particular type of firearm that you would say you probably felt more comfortable with?
No, I don't think so. I think honestly, like, shooting today was probably the most comfortable I felt, honestly.
Go Monique. Go Monique.
No shade to my brother.
Well, I was informed that women need women instructors.
Okay.
No offense to your brother. No offense to any male instructors out there either. But it's one of those things where women instructors, we approach things from a different aspect, kind of knowing, different little tiny minute things that make a big difference for women. So that tends to help. And then so I've heard from either guys as well. Guys would tell me that they wanted to have a female instructor because in their experience, female instructors were a little bit more patient. So that's one of those things where I'll take that win.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your military service, did you do this type of work in military as well, or is it only civilian world?
Only the civilian sector. So I went to school. My MOS was a field radio operator. I probably only did that about a year and a half in service. And then I ended up doing most of my time as joint legal assistant working for the JAG, doing immigration work, helping some of the active duty service members and their families becoming naturalized. So
Okay, very interesting. So, what made you say, okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to get into the mental health arena?
Mm, I struggled myself in the Marine Corps, so I actually tried to kill myself in 2005, like a little bit before, a little like a year before I had my daughter. Um, and I just thought about how helpful like the mental health department was. And I cannot remember her last name. It was an older woman. I just remember her name being Lena, and she was like my saving grace. Like I always just looked forward to my appointments with her weekly. I felt like she saw me past the uniform, because a lot of times, being in the military, there's a lot of negative stigma around mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak to how it is now, really, because again, we're talking, a decade or longer ago. But
I don't think people understand how much strength it takes to pull your own self out of a dark place mentally. So if you've done that today or any other day, I'm proud of you.
I remember feeling like I wanted to do something under the counseling umbrella, but just not sure what. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to be, a corrections counselor. So I'm going to work in the prisons and help people like that. And then I realized, like, I don't want to work in the prisons at all. So, um, I had moved to Houston for about 8 or 9 months, and I had met some people who were working in like the foster system and the type of care they were providing. And they had told me when I was looking into master programs, they're like, we think you would be a really good social worker. You should look into that.
Mm.
And then when I started really looking underneath what the social work degree would, like what kind of positions I can get, I was just like, you know what, like I feel like I can do all of this. It sounds like me. And so it kind of therapy just kind of landed in my lap that way, just kind of mapping through life and taking other people's advices and really looking at the people who helped me along the way.
That's really good. Well, I hope Miss Lena is looking and listening out there. Hopefully, she sees this and knows how much of an impact she made on your life decision for this. Because it seems like you're doing really great work. I mean, honestly, it takes a special kind of person to be in this field altogether. I mean, the patience that you have to listen to someone's concern and be genuinely concerned. And that would be something I would struggle with. I can tell you right now, I would struggle with that. I mean, I have gravitated to being a better listener these days as my adult life. And I've also gone to this thing of having empathy and also sometimes sympathy of others people's situations. But at first, no, that wasn't me. I was very cut off from my emotions. So it always fascinates me coming across someone who is in your line of work of mental health, helping others get through different situations. Because how do you really cultivate that is very special, because you can be damaging just as much as you can be helping someone.
Yes.
So you have to be very particular about how you approach that situation. So what is the different type of work that, well, first, before we get into that, let me ask you first. I want to put this out there just in case someone else doesn't know the answer to this, and I know I struggle with this. What is the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
So a psychologist, they do therapy work. So you have psychologists, you have LPCs, which are licensed counselors, licensed practical counselors. And then you have LCSWs, which are licensed clinical social workers. It's just a different avenue of getting to becoming a therapist. So a psychologist, at LPC, and LCSW, we all do therapy. Psychiatrists, they're a medical doctor, and their primary goal is prescribing medications. So you don't typically go to a psychiatrist for therapy. Some can offer therapy, but most of the time that's not the case. So for example, with my full-time job, we work hand in hand with the psychiatrist. One of our clients, will share a mutual client. The psychiatrist will see the client every 3 months for like 30 minutes to go over medications, to see how they're working, to see if they're helping, versus I'll see a client once a week for an hour or every other week for an hour. So psychiatrists, you're going to work with them more so for medication and diagnosings. Psychologists, LPCs, and LCSWs can diagnose, but they don't prescribe medication.
Remember a fighting stance. Marine Corps. All right, there you go. So your fighting stance, right? You got a solid 360. All right, stance. Stand facing me. And go like that. All right. See? Better, right? So making sure that you can better manage your reflex.
Okay, so I see that helped me a lot because I always kind of struggle with the difference between the two. But now that you explained it that way, the best way I can compare this to like a nurse and a doctor in like a primary care setting.
Yeah.
So, okay, that helps me stay on track with that. So I do want to ask one more question clinically about that. I know there's a difference between being pre-licensed and then being licensed.
Yes.
What's the difference between the two?
So I'm pre-licensed right now. I'm studying for my exam. So pre-license is we've done all the prerequisites to sit for our exam. So you have to take a strenuous exam. It's about four hours. Some people kind of like equate it to taking the bar. We're having to do our master's degree for those who, so master's degree followed by about 2 years of clinical service for LPCs, psychologists, and LCSWs. It's all different, but it's kind of the same. So I think the minimum is probably like 2,500 hours of clinical services before you're eligible to even sit for the 4-hour exam.
That's a lot.
Then yes, and it all costs money. And then after you take your license, then you're fully licensed. But pre-licensed, so for me as a pre-licensed therapist, all that means is that I see my clients, but I have a licensed therapist over me that she just checks off my notes, makes sure, all the checks and balances, and provides like direction and guidance for me while I'm, sitting for my licensure exam.
Okay. So what made you, was there like one particular situation or moment that made you say, I'm going to be a specialist in this? And I'll let you reveal what that is.
So I specialize in grief work and thanatology, which is death study. So that goes more into grief. So I specialize in grief as well, which is more so like if you lost someone, you're going to come to therapy and, get grief counseling. But to take it up a notch, I also offer therapy for people who are actively dying. Like, so I have a couple of clients who have stage 4 cancers, like they've been given a certain time to live. I also help because I specialize in geriatrics too. So older adults, I have a lot of clients who are scared of dying. So we talk a lot about death, the dying process, helping with funeral planning, talking to family members about like the dying process and what the client would like to happen. I don't know really how I got into that. I just really enjoy doing it because a lot of people in my whole unit in Prince William County, there's only 2 of us that like specialize in grief. And only 2 of us heard. I do the same thing. We specialize in grief and we specialize in geriatrics. And I love it. I feel like I can't find anything else better. I know I had to take a hiatus off of work in 2021 because I had gotten really sick. And my clients were kind of like spread all over between the other therapists while I was out. And they're just like, here's your clients, here you go. And I'm like, aren't they great? They're like, girl, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is like the best population to like work with. I know it comes with like a lot of patience and a lot of care. And I don't know, like I don't really have it. It's just something that just is. I don't really have like a story where it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this. It was just kind of like it fell in my lap, and I just felt like I was at the right place at the right time, and I couldn't imagine doing something.
Aim at the center of the body for me. There you go. Realign your sights. Make contact with the trigger. I don't want you to come off the trigger this time, okay? Make contact with the trigger. Take the slack out. Nice. Reset. Slack out.
That's awesome to be able to find your path in life that just makes you like you probably get up to work and you're happy to go to work.
Yes.
Like that's awesome because some people are just like, oh, I'm going to work. I don't want to go to work today.
I know.
I don't want to go to work. I don't want to work tomorrow. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to work tomorrow. I just ain't trying to go to work. I don't want to work tomorrow. I don't
I mean, like, I have moments like that, but it's
Mhm.
never because of the clients. It's
Mhm.
more so like I'm just tired because I'm a mom and a homeowner and things like that. So it's just like I want to lay in bed,
Yeah.
but it's never like dreading to like speak to the clients or going to my office because I actually work with amazing, amazing therapist.
Mhm.
And so it's more so just natural state of just being tired of being a person,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the things that I talk to my clients about. I talk to my children about the importance of finding something you like that doesn't feel like work. It
Yes.
doesn't feel draining because we're all going to have to do it. We got to be contributing citizens. And I said so finding something where when you go into work you don't dread being there. Like I
Yes.
genuinely go to my office and like I don't dread it. Like
Mhm.
I tell me, Thursdays and Fridays are my days, like when I'm in the office, but it's never like, Thursday's coming. Like I never feel like that. And that's a blessing in itself. And then, I have my clients that I genuinely like working with, that I genuinely want to hear about like how their week went and stuff.
Right.
So
I can definitely relate to that. I love my job.
yeah.
I love doing this. I mean, firearms is such a like taboo in so many worlds, but then just, being in this community is welcoming for the people who are in the community of firearms. Like so many people are like, "Oh, you need this or you got that or you need some help with this." And like it's a welcoming community once you're in it. But for those who are not so into firearms, it can be a bit intimidating.
Mhm.
And that's what the part that I love, to help others cross that bridge.
Right, right.
And just help them cultivate those skills and that self-confidence that's in them, because they want to use the firearm, they want to know how to do it, but they may be a little bit leery for various reasons.
Yeah.
So we even have I've had some students that are who has had some traumatic experiences, like their trauma is the reason why they don't deal with firearms, and so firearms has been a way of therapy for them
Mhm.
to get through that. And so it could be somebody in the military who's experienced PTSD. There has been others who've had some domestic abuse situations that I've dealt with, and they have used firearms as a form of therapy. So
Yeah.
You aiming at the head. Oh, did I hit it? Yeah. Oh, look at you. Okay. Aim at the center of the body for me.
so
Yeah. And I think back to like your taboo part, grief is a taboo topic too, even though we all experience, like we're all going to die at some day,
mhm.
some point. And a lot of people don't like talking about it, as well as I also specialize in trauma. And I've have 70-year-old clients who this is the first time in like 30 or 40 years that they're open to talk about their trauma with me. And
Wow.
so both are very taboo topics, but they need to be discussed because one of
Mhm.
the things that I like to tell clients, like eventually if you keep sweeping stuff underneath the rug, a big dust pile is going to come out. And then you're going to just have to handle the big old mess versus like taking little piles and, analyzing it, talking about it and working through it as it's happening. So, it's something that is very like taboo, and I'm hoping that with the work that I'm doing people become more comfortable with talking about like the dying process and helping family members who are getting ready to pass, as well as planning their own funeral services, making sure that they have everything in line for the people that are going to be left behind.
That is a big deal. I mean, the whole mental health connection with that. I always, for many years, I shied away from talking to someone when I know that they have someone that
Mm-hmm.
they love that has passed away, out
Yeah,
of
you don't want to
fear.
bring up their like, ooh,
Yes,
I'm not going to talk about
yes, and then
butterfly. It's just like, but that's
ah,
the thing, is that people know that you're doing that. And it
mhm,
actually doesn't help because
right,
it's just like, Butterfly died. I know
right,
Butterfly died. So we're going to just sit here and act like Butterfly didn't die.
right,
And a lot of times people who experience grief, they want to have opportunities where they talk about the loved
mhm,
person. And so one of the things I do in my therapy sessions, I tell them bring in pictures. And so sometimes if we have an hour together, sometimes we spend 30 minutes and we're just looking at pictures and talking about what this person meant to them and, how they felt or how they honored them. Because like say 4th of July was their favorite holiday, what they put on the menu to, honor the loved one. not pretend that it didn't happen.
Right.
And then because we pretend, then we have people who are grieving. They're like, I don't want to cry. I don't want to talk about it because I can see I'm making everyone else uncomfortable. And then so you're sitting there uncomfortable. They're sitting there uncomfortable, holding all this stuff in, when this can be like a healing conversation for both of you guys.
That's true. Very true. So it wasn't until I lost my grandma, who I would say is probably like the closest person to me that I've lost. And it wasn't until then I can kind of understand the importance of talking about it, because I'm not one of those that just wants to leave it alone and act like she never existed. No, my kids are going to know my grandma, even though the two youngest ones don't remember her, like they were too young. But the two oldest ones did have a relationship with her. Like the two little ones are gonna have a relationship too. They don't even know it, but I will make sure that they know. And that was one of the things I loved about. Oh gosh, what is that kids movie? Coco.
About me. Until 1942. When he was crushed.
Yeah. I love Coco because I don't have any connection to the Mexican culture where they have the Day of the Dead and they do this celebration. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome. And so that's what made me think, like, any loved person in our life that passes away, there will be a picture up for them. There will be talking about
altar.
Yes, we will be talking about them. They will know their names and what things they like and the things that they taught me and my husband that we're teaching our kids. So it's like that person never dies.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until that happened to me, though, losing my grandma, that make me realize that and understand that that's what I feel like I want to do, you know? And it made me feel a little bit more easier, too, about talking to other people about their loved ones that were lost. Like, I don't feel as uncomfortable anymore. So I think now I feel like I have that connection with them in a sense. You know, it may not have been that I've lost my mom. You know, it's not to that degree of a relationship, but it was still a very close bond between me and my grandma. So I do feel like I have some way of talking to them because I have some way to relate now.
Similar gun, slimmer, higher caliber. Okay. So the Glock I have on right now is a Glock 19. It's that one in 9mm. That is 22. This is also 9mm, but this is the slimmer version than this. So like I would wear this during the winter and I would wear that during the summer based on my clothing. You know what I mean? And also hand size, right? That one was a little bit too thick for her hands. This one fit perfectly. So she would carry this regardless. Right? Have that.
I think something interesting too. So my maternal grandmother actually passed away when my mom was a kid. So my mom was like 16 or 17. And so I have no memory. I've seen pictures, but I think the death was so far removed that I just never brought her up, right? And when I started doing grief work, and I'm literally like 2 weeks ago, I have an 80-year-old client and we're talking about his dad that passed 40 plus years ago, right? And I'm like, there's no time limit on grief. And I remember one day I just called my mom, and me and my mom are close. And I called her, I'm like, do you think about your mom? Do you miss your mom? And she was like, Amber Jean. And mind you, my middle name is Jean, which is after my grandmother, Barbara Jean. My mom was like, I think about my mom every day. I miss her every day. And I felt so bad. Here I am. I'm a therapist. I'm a grief therapist. And I'm like I never thought about my mother's grief or my mother's loss. And she's like, I think about your grandma all the time. I miss her all the time. And so there's this book, which I'll have to send you like an Amazon link for, but it's basically, it's a book for you to ask your grandparents and your parents all the things that we never think about. Like I never would have thought, because like I said, my grandmother died when my mom was a kid. So I never thought about asking my mom questions about her, or my mom, like asking my mom certain questions. And so these tools really help us to keep these conversations and memories going. So then I can share these with my kids. Like, this is what your great grandmother was like, or this is what your grandma used to like when she was a kid. And so it's really eye-opening, one, that grief is long lasting. It
Yes.
never goes away, right?
Mhm.
And two, that it is up to us to keep the memory alive of
Right.
those who have passed, and to, teach those things. Because even like with my 17-year-old Axel, we were talking about something last week, and I was just like, you would have loved my Uncle Robert. He was my favorite uncle, and he died when Axel was like 3 months old. And I'm like, you would have loved him. And I was
Mhm.
like, he was so funny, so great. And it just made me sad. And it's been like 17 years, but I was just like,
Wow.
you really would have loved him. He was a good guy. And my kid was just like, oh, okay, well, you're probably right. And I was just like, no, for real, you would have loved Uncle Robert. Like,
Do your kids feel a little bit like weird out if you bring up somebody passing?
um, Not so much. So sadly, my son is 24. He's experienced death a lot with his friends dying
Mm.
from like gun violence. So he isn't a stranger to loss. And
Mhm.
so he talk like, when I see him suffering and or struggling with something online, like, we'll talk about it. And then Axel being raised by a therapist mother, like I feel like they're pretty open and
Mhm.
they're pretty open, and they're pretty empathetic, which I
Mhm.
love about them. And so I feel like it's never like an uncomfortable conversation
Well, that's
or
good.
topic. Yeah. But I do, which they hate to say, but I'm like, you know what, one day I'm not going to be here. And a lot of parents say that, but the truth is that I lived in a world without them.
Right.
They've never lived in a world without me. And so like
Mm.
I'm telling them this, that sometimes just to be an ass, but like also to just let them know, like, hey, these little things that mom is getting on your nerves, these are the things that you're going to talk about to your grandkids, or these are the
Right.
things that I want you to talk to my grandkids about. These are the things that I need you to remember. And I also, as much as we hate talking about it, and I've been one of the blessed people who have not lost their parents yet, that I'm not going to always be around. They're
Right.
not always going to be around. And of course, people are like, don't talk like that. Don't say that. But
Mhm.
that's the truth.
That's the
And then
truth.
that's
Yeah.
why when death comes knocking, everyone's so surprised and shocked when we all know it's going to happen, because it's a taboo topic. Like, we don't
Yes.
want to talk about it. We won't want to look away. Like, don't bring it up.
Mhm.
So I'm glad it's a conversation that we have among my family.
Yeah, I'm really glad too because I mean, just thinking about a young man being able to talk about his feelings to his mom. That's big.
I feel like, I don't know if it's a mixture from being hot and nervous, like, but my hands are so sweaty. So then I feel like with that one being have such a hard recoil, it's like I'm scared. Let's slip out your hands. I got you. Yeah, I got you. So with this, it has more of an aggressive grip. Yeah. This one's not so much has an aggressive grip, and this has an aggressive grip. So you can always modify the grip on your gun.
That's a big deal. I mean, especially such a topic of like losing a loved one. And you said that your oldest has experienced quite a bit of loss in his young age. Do you feel like that has made him a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like so much bothered by death as much because it's happened so much.
I don't think so. And one of the things that I do want to say that I love, is that he doesn't always talk to me, but I love he has my son is a huge Nana's baby and a grandma's baby. My kids are Hispanic, so he has both of his grandmothers, and they'll call and they'll like tell me like, yeah, Isaac had like, a moment, and they talk to him. So even if he's not talking to me, he's talking to them.
That's
And
good.
I love that he has his grandmothers.
That's a
I
blessing.
don't feel like my son is becoming numb to it. I wish it wasn't something that keeps happening, because when I tell you, like, his
Mhm.
friends, these babies, because that's what they are, they're all like 25 and under, are dying, which is ironic to gun violence. And we're on this show, but
Mhm.
he's very loving and caring with his friends, and very, very loyal to a T. And I feel like it's because he knows the fragility of life.
Yeah, that's really good. Like my brother experienced a lot of the same what you said. I would never forget right around the same time that my grandmother passed, my brother also lost, I can't remember the number, but it was something like four to six friends in one car accident. like
Ugh.
right around the
Yeah.
same time of my grandmother's passing. So
Yeah.
that was a really tough time for him because my grandmother and him were like, I thought we were close. No, he does not know a life without my grandmother.
Yes.
Like they were raised in this, he was raised in the same house as her. Like
Yeah.
I had some life without her in the house, and then another part of it, I was in the house with her. But him, he doesn't have a moment without my grandmother being in the picture. So they were
Yeah.
extremely close. So that was a really tough time in his life, and I know he thinks about her every day. Like we talk about her all the time. We don't omit her from conversation.
Good, good.
So that really helps a whole lot. Um, what I do find is that dealing with these type of things, it can be really draining, you know, on your psyche, physically even. What do you do for this work-life balance?
So self-care. This is a conversation that has had a lot with my colleagues and with my partner, and honestly, like even with my kids, I'm totally the mom that's like, you need a mental health day. It's all right, you know. One of the things that's super important to me is I try to keep a peaceful life. So like I have a really, really good group of friends. All my friends might not know each other either because military life, like Monique, and then I have some college friends, and then just having to move all the time because of the Marine Corps. So like I have collectively a really good tribe. You know, we're not sitting around gossiping about people, or they're just not bad people. Because another thing too is I don't mess with people. It's just like you might be an angel to me, but you're horrible to everybody else. I still can't have that around me. And so surrounding myself with good people. My home is very quiet. The most that you're gonna hear is if my dogs are barking at the door or my cats are like talking or something like that. But even in my house, like my kids, like we're not yelling, not running around, stomping around or anything like that. I watch what I look at on TV. So like my partner is huge into like Criminal Minds and SVU. Like I'm like, babe. And you know, some of the stuff like I really counsel people like this. So I'd be like, okay, babe, we can watch 2 episodes.
Right.
And then after that, can we put on like, you know, the other day we watched Lava Tarantula because I like sci-fi stuff, right? And so I pay attention to what I'm watching. I pay attention to who I have around me. Saying no to certain situations, things where I feel like it's going to be too draining. Also, I have called out with clients where I'm just like, hey, can we like reschedule for tomorrow or something? Just because I feel like I'm too heavy and I want to try to rebalance my energy so I can be, you know, there for them in totality during their sessions. And so I'm big on, and I tell them too, I don't charge my clients a cancellation fee. So, you know, some therapists or doctors.
That happens sometimes if you don't have a strong grip on the gun. So there wasn't enough pull to eject the brass completely and feed the next one. So that's why it's good to have a solid grip, because what's happening is when you shoot, the slide is slamming against the back of the gun. So in order for it to fully cycle that way, you have to have opposite pressure against the gun. Okay.
Yeah, I don't charge a late fee. So, you know, like some doctor offices and therapists will be like $50 if you don't cancel within 24 hours. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you might wake up and like I suffer from migraines. Like I wake up, some days I'm on, some days I'm off. And so I extend that same courtesy to my clients, and I let them know like, hey, today I said, can we, you know, cancel for tomorrow or whatever, unless they absolutely like, no girl, I need to talk to you right now, you know. But I don't charge a cancellation fee. So that's also another way where I have some, you know, trust with my clients, where it's just like, I am going to cancel with you when I feel like I can't show up, because at the end of the day, I'm still a person, you know. And then if you have a day where you just feel like, you know what, I just cannot, so they know, they're like, hey, you know, they'll text me and, you know, they come right back. So I do that. Yeah. And then, you know, I'll tell my friends or like my partner, I'm like, oh, today's a wine day. I just want to come home, take a shower, drink some wine, could put on TV. And I literally, it'll be like 6 o'clock in the evening, and I will literally just like get in the bed, and I would just be in the bed the rest of the night. And like, having people around me who understand that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times Monique has called and I'm like, in a session, just got out of session. But I'll say, I'm like, are you good? You okay?
Right.
All right, I'm gonna talk to you later, okay? Like, so
Mhm.
still letting people know, like, hey, like, I can't talk right now. I still want to make sure you're good, but I also am gonna take time for me. Has
That
been
makes
like
a lot of sense.
huge in this. Yeah, and also traveling when money permits. That's my hobby thing, to just go and reset. I'm good for jumping on a plane and going to a beach somewhere.
My dream vacation is the vacation that is unplanned, that money is not an option. You don't even pack a bag. You carry your own luggage, and you go to the airport and say, I want that one, or
That's
what's
good.
the next one going out. That's
Yeah.
my dream vacation right there. I mean, honestly, I think that's like so dope to be able to do something like that.
Yes.
So one day I'll
One day gonna get there. Also, now with electronics and stuff, you can just sign up. You can even go online, and you'll get the emails where it's like $59. And you're like, well, where is it going? Austin. All right, just gonna go. We're gonna choose vibes. We're gonna find the nicest hotel to sit by the pool. You know,
Yes,
it's also an option too.
that is true. That is true. For me, money is the option. With 4 kids,
I
a
know
husband, and a dog. Money is the option right there. So I have to have planned trips, and then I have
Yes.
2 that has pretty bad allergies, so we just can't eat just everywhere.
Right.
So that's another concern. So one day,
One day.
That's the
You
dream.
text me, girl, I'm at the airport. I'm doing it.
That's
and I'm
right.
like, yes. Everybody always knows I'm always the choose vibe person. Girl, go do it. You want to do it? Go.
Yes.
Now we got 45. These boys, they're just disrespectful. They are. They're disrespectful. Damn. He was like, do. Good thing I have a hat on. I would be totally freaking out right now.
Yes. So what has there been times where there are clients of yours that need medication, and maybe, like, I guess the question I'm really asking is, do you feel that pharmaceutical medicines really help with the mental health, or would you kind of sway them more in a natural remedy of some sort?
So, with this question, one of the things that I like for people to envision is your mental health is like a tool bag, right? So some days I might wake up, I might just need tea, yoga, and the beach. Some days I might have to talk to my therapist. Some days I might just need to get my girls together. We have a family game night and just chill. And some days I am going to need medication. So I feel like it all depends on what you need, but you don't have to take everything out of the tool bag, and you also don't have to take everything in the tool bag. So I never tell a client, like, only take medication. No, I feel like you take medication and you talk to somebody. If you decide you just want to, because I do have clients who just want to do the holistic route. That's fine. I let them know too that sometimes, like, that symptom you're having, weed ain't gonna help. It's gonna help with some things, but honestly, like, some of the symptoms, such as like auditory or visual hallucinations, delusions, medication is gonna be beneficial for that. You could smoke weed to help relax or whatever. You can go to the beach for that, but some things you are gonna need to go in your tool bag. Just like some things, you can build this whole nice canopy, and like, you're gonna need a hammer.
Right.
Like, you just need that, or you're going to be sitting there all day, and so I like to think that with each client, it's going to be individual, but also letting them know that you have a tool bag of things. And so some days what you pull out, it might be a hammer. Some days it might be a screwdriver. Some days it might just need to be the card that's saying, hey, I'm going to take a mental health day. And that means I'm going to go to the beach with my kids and drink a smoothie. And so I really think it depends, but I think the key in that is making sure everyone is knowledgeable of all the services that are within reach, and making sure that they understand that it's not a one size fits all.
That makes sense. So So if someone is going through what they feel is a mental health crisis where they may have lost a loved one or they've had some sort of traumatic experience, how would they reach out to you to get some help?
So me personally, so I'm currently, Monique doesn't know yet, she's helping me rebuild my website. No, but so I will give you information, I guess, to put down at the link. I'm on
Yeah.
Psychology Today. I'm still under Amber Couch. It's going to be changing to Amber Martinez soon on Psychology Today. You can just literally type in my name. I'm in the Northern Virginia area. Also, you can find me at Therapeutic Awakening. Again, I'm revamping that site. So I do have an email address and I have a work number that I will give to you at the end of the segment so that people can reach out to me. And if I'm not a good fit, which I do like to tell people, I'm some people's cup of tea, I'm some people's shot of Hennessy, and that's okay.
Right.
That if I'm not the person for them, I'm all about connecting them to other therapists and other resources that's going to continue taking them on their journey to mental health stability.
That's great. I mean, I'm glad that you're actually able to admit that because some people will say, I'm the best at this job and this is what I
No,
do and I'm the one, But you're
no.
saying, hey, look, one shoe doesn't fit all. So.
Yes,
I
not
love
at
that.
all. And so another thing that I tell clients is that it's important. So, I'm just trying to get you from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, and with life, and something I want you guys to remember too, is that everyone's not here to be for the whole ride.
Right.
Sometimes I just might be here from A to C. And then, we got to get you to the next person that's going to help you go forward. As long as you're making progression, that's what's most important to me. And so I always let them know you are never going to hurt my feelings. If you're like, Amber, I want to go find a different therapist. All right, girl. Like, that's fine. You need me to help you?
Yeah.
Because the goal is I want to make sure that I leave you in a better position than what you were found. And that you're able to continue your journey to the end. And I'm okay if I'm only going to be here the first 3 letters of the alphabet. I'm also okay if I'm going to be here from A to Z. But it's really on their individual journey. And that's the most important thing to remember.
That's definitely one of the things that I can relate to because definitely in the gun community, there's this whole thing for instructors that, we're in competition. We're in competition. Well, Monique and I decided a long time ago that was not us. We're not in competition. We're actually here to help each other. And everything that you said, how you handle business at work and, clients may need another person to help them with this or that. We feel the same way. And so,
different approaches.
Different approaches. Yes.
And like even I told you I'm studying for my test. I'm on YouTube studying. There's so many people who are helping with licensures, which I'm so grateful for. But some people I cannot. And Monica knows I have this thing with like sound in people's mouths and stuff. If I feel like I can hear you breathing too much on the thing, I have to turn it off. And but they have so many reviews like this person's great. I passed my test, and I'm like, I can't even listen to them talk, right?
Oh my god!
And so it's just like someone out there is gonna catch your vibe and need you. Like there's so many people out here. Like we all cannot be the same. So there's enough room for all of us to grow. There's enough room for all of us to make it in this world. And I really feel like we need to stop having like what is it, the crab in the barrel mentality.
Yes.
Like it's like there's enough room and there's enough of us to help everybody.
Definitely. You're exactly right about that. That crab in a barrel mentality really is one of the reasons why I know I can't live back in the city. Like that mentality is deep. That has been my experience. And I'm like, let me come on a little bit on the outskirts of the city for that. So definitely I can relate to that too. So what I would like to ask you from here is if you can tell me or tell the audience if they're going through something of losing a loved one, what would be some tips of advice that you may provide to them for that?
So some of us don't always get a chance to say goodbye because, death can be very unexpected. But for those of you who know, I would say ask all the questions, talk. So my grandmother died in her 60s, my paternal grandmother from lung cancer, and so did my paternal grandfather. And I asked them so many questions, and some of them were so silly, but for me, it gave me such a sense of peace in my own healing and grieving journey. So ask them, talk to them about it. Ask them what they need. Take yourself out of the equation a little bit. Also remember that grief isn't a straight line. Like you're going to have days where you feel like you're going like this. You're going to have some days where you're going to feel joy and happiness, and that's okay. And then you're going to wake up the next day and you're just going to feel dread. That's okay too. So just remember that even though we all grieve, because, you know, death is a part of life, that even though it's something that we all have to go through, that it is still individual. It's not a one size fits all. There's no right way of grieving, as long as, you know, you're not hurting yourself or anything like that. Feel what you're going to feel and talk about those emotions to people that you deem to be safe.
Yeah, that's really, really important. I mean, one of the things I think was really helpful, I basically did what you said with my grandma. Like, we knew she was passing. She was passing away from cervical cancer, and she had already, you know, she had been sick a long time, so she knew there was going to be a day sometime soon. At least, you know, she kept praying. Oh, it drove me crazy. God, please just let me see my granddaughter graduate from high school. God, please just let me see my first grandchild be born. Like, she would just have those prayers, and I'm like, Grandma, stop limiting your life. Stop limiting your life. But in her mind, she had went through so much suffering and, you know, pain through all her ailments and things, because she had other things amongst cancer. In her mind, she's just trying to see another day, see the joy in making it to some kind of milestone that she felt was a milestone. And so when she was close to her end of days, and we knew it was coming at that point, like, there was no doubt, none of us could ever doubt this. My mom, my aunties, my uncle, they're kind of like, oh, you know, Mom, you keep fighting, you keep fighting. And me and her had this conversation. Me and her can have this conversation that she was done. She was ready. She was tired of fighting. She had been fighting for so long, and she was just ready. Like you said, be respectful of what their wishes are.
Right, right.
So when it came to that time, you know, they're still like, oh, Mom, hold on, still keep fighting. You know, we're not ready, da da da. And I'm in the back of my mind like, y'all need to leave my grandma alone. She said she's ready. Let her do what she need to do. You know, she has prepared us for this moment because she had those conversations with everyone. She planned her whole funeral. She literally did. So when the day came, all they had to do was do what she told them to do, and it was done. So that was the blessing on that experience. And so just having those conversations, like you said, ahead of time to find out what they wanted, there was no fighting amongst my family.
I think, like, for your experience, that's beautiful. But it's like with my grandmother, I remember I went to go visit her, and she passed. I was probably like 24, and I was just like, I don't want you to die. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't want you to die. And she's like, I don't want to die either.
Right.
And so it's like with someone versus when someone's like, I'm ready, you know, this is the next step. Like, it's going to be okay. Because my mom is very much like, when it's my time, it's my time. And then for my grandmother to be like, I don't want to die. And I'm looking at like, you wasn't supposed to say that. Like, to me, like, let me get my Rolodex. I wasn't expecting you to say that,
Right.
you know? And I was just like, well, I'm gonna love you as much as I can until
Right.
that time. And I'm like, I wish this wasn't in the cards, you know. And we just left it at that. And then I started picking her brain, and then I started telling her, well, you know, I'm your favorite. And she used to always be like, don't start no shit, won't be no shit, Amber Jean. But you know, like, so that was hard, like having that conversation, because some people really are not ready to die.
No.
Like, even my client, one of them that has stage 4, they do not want to pass, you know. And so it's really helping them accept their reality, also you having to accept the reality. And it's just like, okay, well, we can't change this, but how can I love you through this moment?
Right.
What do you need in this moment? And sometimes we can't even look at tomorrow. Like, you literally have to look at in this moment right now. Like, how can I make you feel loved and seen and validated in this moment? And sometimes that's all you can really do.
Yeah. Yeah. I know she was telling me before, through her chemotherapy session, she met so many other women and men that she would talk to about things, and they would be helping each other. It was like a therapy session for them.
Yes.
And so it was one of those things where she looked forward to having those conversations with people. She had to go on a chemo, but she loved having those conversations with people. It really helped her get through it and help her get to that point of, okay, I think I'm ready. Because at first she was very much, I'm not ready for this, you know.
Yeah.
But she did get to it, and I think through those sessions. So, well, this sums up this session here. So next, we're going to play our little game here of shoot or shh. So, stay tuned.
All right, everybody, we back again with our segment of shoot or shh. So we're gonna ask Miss Amber Martinez a couple of questions, and she's gonna have the chance to either answer or plead the fifth. So, you ready?
I'm nervous.
Okay. It's all right. You live, girl. You live. All right. So First question, has there been a time that a client medication has caused a negative psychological effect?
No. Not that I can think of, no.
All right. Have you had a client to get a second opinion for a diagnosis or care that differs from your plan of treatment?
Not differs from my plan or treatment, but I have had clients come in already with the diagnosis that I didn't agree with. So I would meet with my supervisor and tell them, like, I think this is what's going on. Even actually this last week, I had a client that was on a medication I did not feel like was helpful for her at all. And so I emailed the psychiatrist like 3 different times and was like, she needs to get in. So fingers crossed, it helps.
All right, cool. What kind of leads you down that path of saying, hey, this is not what I think it's supposed to be? What are indicators that you look for?
It's the way that a client presents, right? Sometimes during assessments, we only get them for like 2 hours. And then you're looking at what someone else saw within 2 hours. Like I said earlier, sometimes we have good days, sometimes we have bad days. So it's a mixture of a pattern that's been in the history, as well as how a person is presenting to me today, and also taking into account or consideration of things that are happening currently, because everyday life or everyday stressors, they're going to manifest differently in a person.
Okay. Question 3, is there a certain diagnosis that has been the most challenging for you?
Yes.
And what is it?
Probably my schizophrenic client, my clients that have a schizophrenia diagnosis. A lot of times they have ongoing psychosis, such as like the auditory or visual hallucinations. And sometimes that can be a little scary, helping them find the right medication regimen for them. So, but I found like those diagnoses I typically like struggle with. And
So continuing with our shoot or questions,
mm-hmm.
what does a typical evening look like for you when you say, I've had a long day? Is there a telltale sign?
Like as far as like how I unwind?
Well, more so you've had your mental capacity of all the work that happened today, and it was just an overload, and now I'm done.
I don't talk. So I've had to like let my partner know, like, babe, when I'm not in a talking mood, it's not like about you or whatever, So I don't talk. I'll have more times than not, I'll have a glass of wine, and I don't answer my phone. Like I'll text and stuff, but I love, my guilty pleasure is scrolling on TikTok and Instagram, looking at videos, like typically like cat or dog videos, and I'll just start sharing them to my friends. Like, look at this. Why are you laughing? So I'll just send heck of videos, and a lot of times it's because I'm cracking up. So I'm just trying to share the laughter,
Right.
So that's my guilty pleasure: scrolling on social media, looking at funny animal videos, and drinking a glass of wine, not talking.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice healthy one too. That's a really good healthy one. All right, so question number 5. Can you describe a time when you've had a client restrained?
Luckily, no. Yeah, like thankfully, because I like to call them firecrackers sometimes. My colleagues, they have firecrackers. For me, I have not had to handle that yet. So.
That's really good. So I know that you mentioned that you have some clients that do have some diagnoses that are a little bit more challenging. Have you ever had a client whose belief in supernatural afterlife, such as ghosts, significantly impact their ability to grieve?
Well, I also believe in those things. I'm a spiritual person, so I never invalidate the client's belief systems. But I know that's not how all other therapists work. But as far as them being able to grieve, as such as what exactly?
Like maybe they're continuously seeing the person that has passed, and that's causing them to not be able to, the person who is your client, to be able to move on.
Not in that way, but there is something that we call complicated grief, which is one of the modalities that I help run for grief therapy. Complicated grief is just like when a person isn't able to move past the death, and it's almost like you have someone who lost someone like 10 years ago, but when they talk about it with you today, it's almost, you would think it happened yesterday, or they're not able to just kind of move forward to be productive in life, but not necessarily from like a supernatural realm.
Okay. Well, you guys seen it. She made it through shoot or shh, and she didn't shh one time.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yay!
All right, you look at the pictures of that? Yes. All right, because they need to know. I got you. A lot of shoulder work.
It is. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing the TRX workout, so I'm like, I can feel it in today.
So that was.
Thank you for joining us today in another fascinating show. Subscribe to stay tuned for more. If you are interested in being a guest, use the link below to register, and we will contact you by phone to see if your story in our show is a good fit. We hope you have learned some valuable skills for marksmanship and gathered some great tools for mental health today. Until next time, continue to aim for the best possibilities in your life. See you soon. Shh.